US President Joe Biden says he believes Vladimir Putin will move in, but does not want a full-blown war with Ukraine, adding that he will pay a serious and dear price if he does move forward with a military incursion.
If they actually do what they're capable of doing with the force amassed on the border, it is going to be a disaster for Russia if they further invade Ukraine, and that our allies and partners are ready to impose severe cost and significant harm on Russia and the Russian economy.
Amid the soaring tensions, French President Emmanuel Macron called on the European Union to quickly draw up a new security plan and urged to have a frank dialogue with Russia.
These next weeks must lead to a European proposal to build a new security and stability pact. We must build it between Europeans before we share it with our allies within NATO and then offer it up for negotiation with Russia.
His German counterpart, Olaf Scholz, said that after years of rising tensions, staying silent is not a sensible option.
That is why we are talking to Moscow in a range of different formats. About our commitment to Ukraine's territorial integrity and about a key principle of our common European peace order, that borders must not be moved by force.
US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has promised Ukraine more military aid in the face of aggressive plans by Russian President Vladimir Putin, whom he accused of refusing to de-escalate military tensions. Moscow said they will accept nothing less but watertight US guarantees precluding NATO's expansion to Ukraine.
US Secretary of State Antony Blinken will be here in Berlin today to meet with his German counterpart, Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock, as well as the so-called transatlantic Quad that also includes France and the UK. Now, a key issue on the agenda, of course, will be allies' readiness to impose potentially massive consequences and economic costs on Russia should there be any further aggression towards Ukraine. And this is where things get particularly uncomfortable for Berlin right now. So German Chancellor Olaf Scholz said earlier this week that everything will have to be discussed should there indeed be a military intervention in Ukraine. And that includes the recently completed Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline between Russia and Germany. And this pipeline has been a contentious issue since the get-go, as critics, including the US and Ukraine, say it will make the EU too dependent on Russian energy. So Berlin is under real intense pressure now to halt the final approval of the pipeline as part of these possible sanction efforts. At the same time, another option being explored is cutting off Russian banks from the SWIFT payment system, that huge global network used to wire sums of money between nearly all financial institutions. But Germany says it's keen to avoid sanctions that would make it difficult for Europe to pay for gas and oil imports from Russia. So certainly some more tough talks on the table today. Kate Brady, Euronews, Berlin.
The Kremlin is closely watching the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken's visit to Europe. It started in Kiev and will end in Geneva, where Mr. Blinken will meet with the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. Vladimir Putin's spokesman described Geneva talks as extremely important and stressed that Moscow was hoping to get the written answer to its security demands from the US in the coming days. Mr. Blinken said he won't be presenting any formal paper to Mr. Lavrov in Kiev. He stressed that Russia could take an aggressive action against Ukraine on very short notice. Russian top politicians replied, saying once again that Moscow was not planning to attack or invade Ukraine. Deputies from the Communist Party, the second biggest faction in the Russian upper house of parliament after the United Russia ruling party, suggested that the chamber asks Vladimir Putin to recognize the self-proclaimed separatist republics on the east of Ukraine to protect people living there from the real threats. The Kremlin said it has not heard about this suggestion. Nevertheless, this scenario is no doubt one of many discussed by various Russian analysts. Both Moscow and Washington are not expecting any breakthroughs in Geneva. In the US, those talks are seen as an opportunity to test whether Moscow really wants negotiations. Russia says it wants to understand the same about the US, underlining that the time is running out. Galina Polonskaya for Euronews.